Hey everybody, this is ECW original referee Jim Molyneux, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
This is David Goldie, the World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, and you're listening to the Alliance Guys podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Blog Podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and sometimes Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Today, I have the very special honor of interviewing a former World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, a not only like hallmark of the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, but for all of our NWA fans, a former NWA New York champion, a former NWA New Jersey champion, NWA Eastern States champion, and someone who's very much involved with the heavyweight title scene back in what we would call those NWA wilderness years. Today, I'm lucky to speak to Mr. Biggie Biggs. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
So it's been a minute. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
I was checking out some of the photos on your Instagram, and I wasn't stalking. I was just looking for a good photo for the podcast. And I'm going to tell you, man, wow, you have been putting in some work, and you're no longer the overweight lover anymore. What happened?
We evolved. We turned into something different.
You're looking good. You're putting in the work, and I feel like it. Look, as someone who myself has been hitting the gym, and we all get there. We're trying to look better. We're trying to lose that weight. We're trying to get in our best shape, and we don't necessarily see it all the time because we're standing and looking at ourselves in the mirror day after day. But then someone who hasn't seen you in a while will be like, "Oh, wow, Jay, you've lost a lot of weight." And I'm like, "Thank you, brother." So I want to point that out to you. You're looking really, you're looking svelte today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You made my day for sure.
Well, good. Now let's talk some wrestling because it's been a while since you and I have chatted. Yeah. The last time you were on here was back in the old Blog Talk Radio days where we didn't have video. We couldn't see your handsome face on the monitor here. And, in back in those days, we were still talking about NWA Coastal and NWA DAWG.
Yep.
And obviously, that's all changed in the last few years. Let's talk a little bit about your early days in the NWA for the audience who doesn't know, because again, you were very big part of the NWA on the Eastern States, having held the NWA Eastern States Championship.
Yep.
Let's talk about that journey real quick from your beginnings in pro wrestling to get to the NWA, working for Dennis Coralluzzo, working for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, working for Fred Rubenstein, working for Phil, all those guys. Mm-hmm. Let's start there.
You got
it's a
it.
very, very broad basket, but go ahead.
I was lucky enough to train out of Mike Sharp's in Bricktown, and that was like a feeder system for like the independents because you had Dino Santa, Triple WA, you had Dennis Coralluzzo with the NWA, and at that time Donnie B was the booker for the NWA for Dennis. So he would grab the guys from Sharps and we would go to the shows and you put in your time and you get to work for Dennis. And Dennis was good because he would do third-party bookings with WWF. And you'd have guys fresh off of TV come and work in the shows. So you get a chance to pick their brains and work with them and figure out what you have to do to get to the next level.
Who were some of those guys that you got an opportunity to work with? Like that helped plant those seeds?
Al Venus, the original Doink, Dwayne Gill. Anybody that was on TV from like the mid 90s were on Dennis's shows.
How did that, and maybe you can't answer that question, but how did that work when they were still doing stuff with Eastern States before they became, Eastern Championship Wrestling before they became ECW? How did that work when Coralluzzo was booking guys from the WWE?
It worked because Dennis was his own entity. By that point, he was just the NWA, and then ECW was ECW.
Got it.
That was like the break off. Dennis was still trying to do his thing, but he had the hook with Cornette and the WWF.
So during that time, because of the location you were at, did you get to work very many dates with ECW, or was that pretty much like completely separate?
That was completely separate.
Got it. Sorry about that. My phone's blowing up. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on.
I got you.
So, okay, so then we get to, around the time of, you got Hashimoto in coming to the U.S. He
Mhm.
is recognized as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. It took him some time to get that title. Literally had to brutalize Steve Corino to win that title.
Yep.
Then you're here and you're looking for your opportunities to get a shot at the 10 pounds of gold. That was a wild time, I feel like, for the NWA too, because there was not as much of a spotlight on the
No,
independents back then. And like
not at all.
if someone wanted to follow what the NWA was doing, you really had to get out on the internet and either do tape trading or
Mhm.
stock message boards and websites to find out results of matches and stuff. But how did it come to you getting an opportunity to wrestle for the 10 pounds of gold?
So I had two opportunities. I wrestled Naoya Ogawa in Staten Island at St.
Oh,
John's
yeah.
University. So originally it was going to be Biggie against the Beast when Dan Severn was still the champion. So we're building it up for NWA New York, and then he lost it to Ogawa, and Ogawa kept the date. So I was like, oh, this is incredible. So like everybody was like, you have to watch out. He's a shooter. He doesn't speak English. Baloney. We got into the locker room, talked, and he was speaking beautiful English. I'm like, it's all whatever. So got a chance to work the match, and Fred Rubenstein was a referee. And like, I chop. I don't care who you are. I'm going to chop you. And he's like, Nicky, don't do it. Don't chop him. And Fred's like losing his mind. He's like, what are you doing? But it worked out well. So that was one of the best experience ever is wrestling for the world title in New York. Just like a dream. Like that's what you want to do as a kid growing up watching wrestling. And then DAWG gave me another opportunity to wrestle for the world title. It was for the vacant title. And it was like an 8-man scramble.
That's right. And that was with Chance Prophet. That was also with Jason Kincaid.
Yeah,
that was with Damian Wayne. And that was such a great group of guys back in the day. And I feel like you included 100% in that. But those guys, I feel like, were carrying that NWA banner when there wasn't a lot of people carrying the NWA banner.
Agreed.
And it felt like and I hope I'm using this the right way. It felt like that was something that you were proud that was on your resume. That yes, I am an NWA wrestler. And when you were competing in the Northeast for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, for NWA Coastal, and being able to step into the ring again with guys who were similarly doing the same thing for the NWA on different parts of the country. Damian Wayne out in Virginia, Chance Prophet in West Virginia,
Yep.
And both of those guys were regulars for DAWG at the time as well. But it just felt like a lot of guys who were carrying that NWA banner on their back got recognized in that match. And I feel like that's what gets lost in the sauce when everyone talks about the controversial finish to that match with Tokyo Monster Kahagas being inducted late in the match by Bruce Tharp. Mm-hmm. I still like everyone that was in that match was really at that time carrying that NWA banner. And I feel like people get lost on that because if for NWA fans who are watching right now, and we're going to get into more DAWG talk soon, but I feel like we would be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about the NWA and your connection to it. That was right at the time when Adam Pearce and Colt Boom Boom Cabana basically were jettisoned from the NWA. NWA ownership changed, mm-hmm. and they were crowning a new world's heavyweight champion. And Adam Pearce, who I really do feel like also carried that NWA banner on his back while he was world champion. That elimination match very much carried that same kind of pedigree of guys who really, when I think of NWA, that's who I think of. Yourself, Damian Wayne, Jason Kincaid.
For that time, the guys in that match, that was the NWA for the territories. 100%.
And hats off to Dr. Lawrence Zirconium for putting that one together. I wish they didn't have the surprise finish to that, and I wish the results of that match might have been slightly different. But at the end of the day, that was what the NWA wanted, and that's what they got. Mm-hmm. So let's take a side step here. Let's talk about Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, because you were on that very first DAWG show.
I was.
And knowing Dr. Lawrence Zirconium and Jaden, his right hand man, putting these events together, how did that how did it feel to be one of the guys who was first picked to be a part of what they were doing there for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators?
Very humbling, because at the time I didn't think I was very good. I don't think anybody who wrestles thinks they're good. But when somebody else sees something in you, you're like, oh, all right, maybe there's something to this. And DAWG and Dr. Zirconian, like since day one, they've always given me an opportunity. So beyond thankful for that. But being part of that first show was pretty good because that show was in my backyard. I want to say it was in Ocean, New Jersey. So it wasn't too far.
That's cool. That's always a good day when you can sleep in your bed when you leave the venue and it's like 10, 20 minutes to get home.
Exactly.
A friend in the chat, Devin Dowling, has a great question, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. On April 2013, you teamed with Tito Santana and defeated Homicide for the NWA Eastern Shores Championship. What did that week feel like? As I'm sure you must have been fans of both of them.
Crazy. Getting a chance to work with Homicide was incredible because we've been on the independents for years, and to finally get a chance to work with each other was incredible. And then growing up watching Tito Santana and then working with Tito Santana and winning a championship with him, come on, incredible.
And that's the thing that I've always am curious about because, long before Biggie Biggs is wrestling in the ring, you're a fan. You're watching this at home, and having that opportunity to go from, hey, I used to watch you on TV, and now I'm wrestling against you or with you. Yeah. That's got to be very validating as a feeling of being, like you've made it.
It's crazy to think because, like, back then, like, I got a chance to work with, like, King Kong Bundy, Tito Santana, excuse me, like, Iron Sheik, Bob Backlund. Like, you watch these guys, you grew up with these guys, and you're in the ring with them. It's like, okay, this is kind of surreal. But now on the same token, like I'm on shows now and guys are coming up to me going, hey, I watched you 20 years ago. I'm like, seriously? Like, how old are you now? Like, like I know I'm old, but shit.
Well, so I don't think you're that much older than me. I think we're almost the same age. And
I just turned 51.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be 47 in November, so we're close.
Okay.
So like, you're growing up and you live on the East Coast. I grew up on the West Coast.
Okay.
You have access to World Wrestling Federation because that's your backyard, and New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, all those areas, and I'm sure was prominently featured in your area. I know Jaden has told me that he grew up also in New Jersey and was able to turn on a bunch of channels and have Puerto Rico on TV and have Mid-South on TV, and I'm over here in California with like maybe Lucha Libre. If I'm watching the Spanish speaking stations and Glow and the WWE, and then we didn't get NWA Jim Crockett Promotions until like 86, 87, kind of past the heyday.
Right.
So is that what you grew up on was New York wrestling, or what did you grow up with?
I love the South, NWA world class, Florida. Like to me, it was more believable.
Yeah.
Not cartoonish. And then eventually you evolve into watching WWF and then whatever else you get your hands on. Once you become that fan, you have to watch it all.
Isn't that the weirdest thing? Like we talk, like I'm a Star Wars fan, and anytime something new comes out, like, all right, I'm going to go to Disney Plus or watch it in the theater, whatever I can, I'm there. If it's a new Marvel show, it's the same thing. Like, I got to watch it. I got to see what's going to happen. And the same thing with wrestling. And maybe this is something that the older I get, like I need to give it at least a shot. I need to try it at least one time, whether it be, AEW. I'm not a huge fan of AEW, but I do enjoy a lot of the talent that works for AEW.
Yeah.
I just in the last few years started going to Tijuana for Lucha Libre down in Mexico.
How is that?
It's amazing. It's so much more fun than wrestling in the U.S. And me and my buddy were in TJ in February, and it was El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. and Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Daga and Ultimo Dragon. And Ultimo Dragon is one of my guys. Like, that's somebody who I used to tape trade to see his matches. I would watch him in WCW. That guy was my guy, and he still can't go like he used to, but
right.
It was cool to see him live one more time.
That's great.
And El Hijo de Wagner is just crazy. He was awesome. It's real crazy because they have less restrictions on how they interact with the crowds. Like we had El Hijo de Rey Mysterio, not Rey Mysterio, not Dominic, but El Hijo de Rey Mysterio throwing beer at us, and that was pretty wild too. It was just It was an
experience.
Very much so. And the only thing I could think of is like maybe the old ECW days when in the 2300 arena, or maybe the stuff that was happening in Puerto Rico where it got real wild too. Like,
Yeah,
that stuff to me has always sounded like fun. But as part of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, obviously you are a former World Wrestling Grand Prix champion, a title that you were the first ever World Wrestling Grand Prix champion. Tell me about that experience, because that was a new championship for DAWG. It was kind of born off the back of the Eastern Shores or Eastern States championship title. And to me, like, I don't know, that belt sometimes to me feels like a bigger deal than a DAWG title, because it is part of that sanctioning body of the World Wrestling Grand Prix. It has been defended in multiple areas, and it feels like that title has some special value to it. Tell me about becoming a World Wrestling Grand Prix champion.
Incredible feeling, because like you said, the DAWG championship is important, but the WWGP title meant so much more because it did get defended all over the place. Like that, I can't put into words, but it does have that intangible. Like you've earned it. You're the guy.
And the thing about it too is it came. You know, I know Dr. Lawrence Zirconium had a bigger plan with that title, because it kind of came about after DAWG left the National Wrestling Alliance. And I know that at the time, initially, like with Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance, I think was part of the original plan. With Valkyrie, I think that was also part of the plan to include like the women's title was going to represent that company as well. Yep. It felt like in the beginning, the genesis of that title was supposed to be more of a territorial traveling championship. And I know it still does travel today, but initially when you became champion, that belt was of real significance, and it really did have some deeper meaning. And I do feel like that belt was meant to travel. And when you had that title, that meant that Dr. Lawrence Zirconium, the offices of DAWG plus the offices of the World Wrestling Grand Prix were really looking at you as to being that standard bearer for what they were doing. I feel like that's a huge compliment.
Humbling. I can't say it enough. Humbling.
Now, in the career that you've had, like I hear you say humbling a lot, but let's celebrate you. Let's talk about some of the things that you've done that have, like, you know, hell yeah, I did this and I deserved it because I worked hard for it. Again, winning the IWF Tag Team Championship with Tito Santana, that's going back in time. Like, again, wrestling with somebody you grew up watching, an icon of pro wrestling. And, you know, was that a feel good moment for you, or was that more like oh man, I can't believe this is happening type thing?
It was crazy because, like, when it was pitched, I'm like, there's no way this is happening. And then we're in the match, and it wound up being, it was a dog collar bull rope tag team. Yeah. Tito had the bull rope. He was going. It was good. But, like, we won the match, and just watching everybody's reaction is like, holy shit, did that just happen? Like, it was crazy. Like, I can still see it to this day. Like, looking out there, people are like, oh my God. Like, crazy.
It's such a unique pairing that I kind of want to go back and, like, maybe Google search that one, because I think I need to see that one.
He worked. Like, all four of us worked in that match, and, like, he was going. It's crazy.
The other, when you became champ, I'm sorry, going back to the World Wrestling Grand Prix, when you became champ, see, and I apologize. I should have apologized in advance. I'll apologize in real time. I have like a ADHD brain when it comes to pro wrestling, and I'll just bounce around. So I apologize if I seem like I'm all over the place, because I am. Like, I don't typically have notes when I do interviews. It's just like, let's talk, man. I was talking about wrestling. So, you know, one of your feuds as World Wrestling Grand Prix champion was against Bolo Young, the recently departed Dirty Money. He was a guy that, again, had a great standing in Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. His death was kind of untimely, and anytime someone passes away, it's sad. But do you have any memories that you'd like to share with us about Dirty Money?
Class act. First time I met him was working for NWA Virginia. And, you know, at the time, everybody thinks their shit doesn't stink, whatever. But you start talking with the guy, like, all right, we're on the same page. We know what we want. And after the show, we all went to, what's that? big buffet, Southern buffet.
Oh man,
Golden Corral.
Golden Corral. Okay, yeah, we have those out here now too. Yeah.
Went out to Golden Corral with like all the boys from the show and just sitting there and talking and getting to know each other. That's priceless. I love wrestling, but I like talking with the guys.
Yeah.
Like wrestling is a bonus. Like talking with everybody, seeing how everybody's doing, and just like getting a feel for everybody. That's priceless. And Dirty Money Man, holy smokes, class act.
It's good to hear. Like, I obviously I never got to meet him, but I've only heard about his reputation and I've seen his matches, and he was a phenomenal talent. And I'm kind of surprised that his reach didn't get further than it did. But it's funny, you said something and it triggered something in my brain. You said like the wrestling is the bonus, and it's the relationships and hanging out with the guys after the show. My wife, who is not a wrestling fan, she lied to me. When we first started dating, I would drag her to all these wrestling shows, and she had a nice camera, so she would take pictures that we'd post on the website. And I was like, wow, we're like Bonnie and Clyde when it comes to wrestling reporting. Like we're it. And years later, she's like, I hated every show you ever dragged me to. The fun part was afterwards talking to the talent, talking to the wrestlers, the guys that I knew, and just shooting the shit and knowing that these guys are just normal human beings that have, victories and struggles just like everyone else, and being able to have that camaraderie, I guess, in the locker room, and being able to talk to guys who have been some of your best buds that you've made these relationships over the years in pro wrestling.
Oh, wow. So a lot of it, we had the IWF in West Patterson. Like we had our core group. So you had guys like Rob Echoes, Damian Adams, Roman. You have Fred Rosser, Danilo, who's a referee now for WWE. You had Sean Bennett. Like that was our core guys. So like we trained all the guys at the school, and then they start going on the indies. And then when you see them on the indies, you're like, oh my God, it's like catching up, lost time. That anybody from IWF, 100%.
Did you help train at IWF as well?
I did.
Okay, I guess I didn't know that. So, being a trainer, is that like obviously training is much more different than performing, but I'm sure there's validation from doing it when you see your students excel and take those opportunities to grow. Who are some of your students that you're very proud of from over the years?
We had Eddie Kingston for a hiccup. He was there with us. He blossomed. You had Fred Rosser. You had Damian Adams, Roman, Hadrian, all those guys. A lot of the guys from the first two classes, like they took off. Like they did great. We had Josh Daniels. What else do we have? A lot of guys.
And that IWF was based in New Jersey, or was that based in New York?
West Patterson, New Jersey.
West Patterson, New Jersey. Okay. So my East Coast wrestling is still very limited, and I'm trying to, grow that spectrum of I know there's more than just ECW and the Savaldis out there on the East Coast, but that's kind of what I was fed growing up. So that's kind of what I know.
So before they had the Performance Center and like the developmental, at one point they were going to do Chaotic Wrestling, ECW out of Delaware, and IWF. They're going to do like a 3-day loop once a month for like talent to learn how to wrestle.
Yeah.
And that was close to coming to fruition, but I don't know where it got lost. So that was like 98, 99, where that would have happened.
That's you think about like the what ifs of pro wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
So many things could have happened. So many things could have been different. And then I heard you mention Robbie E. Yep. Obviously, he was your opponent for that first DAWG event. Was that fun being in the ring with him in that capacity, or is it just business?
Oh no, it was fun. Absolutely. Because like from training him from day one to what he became was awesome. And he carried me through that match. I didn't have to worry about anything. Like he's do this, we'll do that. No problem.
One of the things that has always stayed with me is Adam Pearce used to tell me when he was wrestling in different states that, that match was taking the night off. And I'm like, oh, that means in my head, I'm like, oh, you didn't show up. He's like, no, it means that I didn't have to work. Like the match was already done for me. I just showed up and did my thing. So I was asking, is Robbie E, was that like taking the night off?
I guess in a sense, I didn't have to worry about screwing up. Like, he took care of me. He knows my strengths. He knew where to put what I did well. You know?
The lost art of calling it in the ring, I know that a lot of people are scared to death to do that. But I'm sure, like, because of your background and how long you've been involved in the business, could you call it in the ring with some of the new guys, or is that something that just doesn't happen these days?
No, we could definitely do it. You just have to know your crowd and what your guy can do. You know, you don't do anything crazy, but tell a story. It's all about engaging the crowd, making sure they're having a good time. And that's what I think a lot of people forget. It's like, hey, you paid money to be entertained. Let me entertain you.
We had Daggett Bundles on here last week, and he was talking about guys who get their shit in, get my shit in. And he was telling me, like, you don't want to do that in one of his matches. I imagine that's not something that anybody wants to happen in their matches.
But you'll have it. Like, that's not how you get over it. It's a dance. You're working together. It's not only about you. It's about the promotion, the promoter, the fans. You know, you want to be successful. You want people to come back to see you next month or 2 months down the road.
Right. And I think, you know, we're talking about the lost art. I think, you know, that's, I think what Dr. Lawrence Zirconium gets right. And what DAWG gets right is they've taken a more of an old school approach. And, you know, the talent is not necessarily old school, but the approach, I think, is where, like, we're not going to go out there and have these crazy matches. You know, we don't need to have, you know, death matches to get people excited. We're just going to tell a simple story. We're going to have two guys. We give them reason to fight, and we'll see what happens. And I feel like that's kind of a lost art in pro wrestling today. I feel like so much stuff becomes oversaturated and convoluted. It's like, no, man, we don't need to have, well, my girlfriend used to date his girlfriend, so now we're going to have a match. No, just get in the ring. Let's just go. That's all we need. And, you know, I feel like, again, all the credit to Dr. Lawrence Zirconium, but I feel like that's what DAWG gets right. And I feel like with them bringing back guys of your stature, of course, Daggett coming back, and, you know, and then using some of these guys like Goldie, who holds the title that you used to hold. I mean, I've heard a lot of great things about Goldie. I've seen him live. He is phenomenal talent. And I just, you know, do you feel like there are some new guys that are respecting the business the way that you were taught to respect the business?
I do. I met a handful of guys. DAWG did a show at Monmouth University back in February, and get a chance to talk with them and feel them out. Be like, who broke you into the business? And they understood that. You know, like, all right, this guy wants to shoot the shit, and everybody I spoke with gets it. And then watching the matches before I wrestled was like, all right, these guys get it. Like, the DAWG roster is on point,
with the exception of Dave Dahl.
There's always an exception.
You know, I have to do that because Jaden roasts him 24/7. In fact, I was literally in New Jersey just a few weeks ago. The NWA was out at the 2300 Arena, so I hung out with Jaden for a day. We literally went to Dave Dahl's shoot job, and he proceeded to tell him that he sucks at his shoot job as well as wrestling. So that was a lot of fun.
It's entertaining to watch.
It was a little uncomfortable because I'm like, I don't know the dynamic, right? Like, I hear Jaden talk a lot of S on the podcast and everything else, but then to see it in real time in live action, it was like, you should be almost in tears, man. A friend of our show and a wrestling historian, Rick Del Santo, who is on the East Coast, he said, wasn't Eastern Shores run by Lou Reardon?
So there's two different Eastern Shores. Eastern Shores was based out of New York, and then the Eastern Shores title was a DAWG title. Right.
And that was a combination between Coastal and DAWG, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
I almost want to say NWA Vintage was involved at one point because they were an NWA affiliate.
And then Phil Varlice's Coastal, I think, was also part of it too.
Yeah,
a lot of good guys out there.
Oh yeah,
and I feel like that's, you know, the NWA is starting to bring back the territory system, and now that they're going to be in New York for
the 77th.
It just announced Long Island, and I think that's really cool. And it sounds like, you know, this isn't news. This is just speculation, but it sounds like CEP might become part of the NWA under the territory system.
Good.
And I'm like, I think that's a good fit for them.
Good.
Any positive or negative things to say about CEP?
No.
Fair. So who are some of the guys that you see on this dog roster, and just in wrestling in general, you think like, yeah, that guy's got it. He's going places.
Goldie for sure. Falaba, he's going to get another run. He has it.
Yeah,
it's all about timing.
He just needs the right opportunity.
Yeah. And then I forget his name. Dave Dahl's flag bearer.
Oh, Connor the flag bearer.
Connor. He has it.
I've seen that kid live. I've seen him on those shows from Rowan at the university shows, and there's something about that kid, and I hate to say it because he's such a little swarmy asshole, but man,
he's got something.
I definitely see it. I see it, and he's going to be taking on DeGette at the next event, and I'm just like, oh man, I hope you don't do anything stupid. I hope he doesn't have to kill you. I feel like there's potential there, but it could end in one night, you know.
I also forget how young these guys are.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that you're that old? All right, never mind.
Well, and I like the humbling experience because again, we're not young men anymore. We're older guys, and I think I'm comfortable in it. You look pretty comfortable in it.
Am I?
You look at these guys and you see like, oh, you're 22 years old, and that sounds young, but then think about what you were doing when you were 22. You were in the business, weren't you?
Yeah, I started training at 19.
So it's you're right on line, but it just feels kind of wild too. Like, oh yeah, I was a grown ass man when you were born. I feel like that a lot. I'm like, I was going to indie shows when you were born. That's crazy.
My first pair of wrestling boots are older than you.
Oh my god!
Like I got my boots from Adrian Street. That's how old they are.
That you still have them?
Hell yeah!
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, like now the dumbass in me would be like, I'm gonna go bronze them. You know, have them like a statue, like a trophy. The Biggie Biggs Memorial Trophy right there. I mean,
that's it. Let's go
here, but when the time comes, of course, you know, like you're still here. You're not going anywhere.
No, I just got back. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like I know you haven't been just sitting at home twiddling your thumbs. You're still very active on the independent circuit, but it's been quite some time since your last dog event. I believe it was like 7 years.
Yeah. I haven't had a singles match in a while, and like when this was pitched to me to face Silver Lobo, I think that's the guy's name.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's see if the old man can still go.
Now, what do you know about Silver Lobo? Have you been watching like film, or have you?
I've been watching film. I was watching his promos. He did a bilingual promo on me. I'm like, I don't speak Spanish, but I will figure it out.
Google Translate. It's very helpful.
Okay, good to know.
The card coming up for Riverton, New Jersey at Sacred Heart, I feel like is a very good introduction to anybody who has not checked out a dog event before. This is a great way to start. Valerie Verman is your WWGP Women's Champion. Vinny the Fixer is your dog champion who won under some scrupulous ways.
Yeah.
Seeing Dave Dahl and Dylan Mesh defend the titles against Primal Fear, all this is great. But what I like about this event too, it's a bit of a homecoming because you're going to be making your return. Daggett Bundles is making his return. Tank Tolan, who is on these events too. It's like there's the young guys, there's the more established vets. There's a menagerie of talent on these shows, and you know, Vinny the Fixer is not a young guy either. He's taking on Marvelous, who I got to interview last week as well. It feels like this is a very breakthrough card for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to ask you, because you're someone who's been in the business for so long, you know, DAWG has been around about 15 years, but do you feel like this is a big moment for them? Is this opportunity for them to take that next step?
I think they're going to hit their stride between this event and then the events coming up in July.
Yeah.
I think they're going to hit it.
And
they're due for it.
And you know, all the credit in the world to Jaden and Dr. Lawrence Draconian, because I know they're out there pounding the streets, handing out flyers, like literally the old school approach of flyering. And I don't even see anybody do that anymore. I feel like that's that grounded approach, that old school approach is really going to be a difference maker for these events. And of course, I would be remiss if we didn't bring up the Monmouth. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing.
That's okay. You're good. Monmouth County Fair coming up in July.
And I was talking to Jaden, and I know that there are multiple events, and it's, $10 admission to the fair, which is cool because you can ride the rides and get some cotton candy, maybe some funnel cake. But I mean, there's like what I see, at least 5 events that are happening throughout the fair.
So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think there's 3.
Okay.
3 throughout the day. Saturday, either 4 or 5, and then Sunday there's 3.
How do you prepare for that?
You just bring your gear and ready to go.
Do you know who you're facing on that event yet?
I do not. So this is a unique event for me. Monmouth County Fair, they're celebrating their 50th year, and it was approached to me if we could do professional wrestling for this event. The only person that I trusted to do this event was DAWG.
That's
because
awesome.
It's family friendly. They're the right fit for this event. Monmouth County Fair were drawn over the 5 days over 90,000 people. So you're going to have 90,000 people looking at this product. This is huge. And the talk within the park system about wrestling is off the charts already. So this is going to be huge.
Do you feel like the popularity of pro wrestling in the country is making it better or worse for independent wrestling promotions to get more dates, more opportunity to be seen?
I think it's giving more opportunity because people are realizing it's not like a shitty business like it used to be. It's now back to like the 90s where it's pop culture, it's mainstream. You see products in like Walmarts and Targets. And not everybody can afford a ticket to AEW or the WWE, so you have to go to grassroots. You have to go to mom and pop independents. And this is a great opportunity. There's never been wrestling at the Monmouth County Fair. This is the first time ever. So this is going to be a big deal.
I was just saying this earlier today. So because Survivor Series will be out here in Southern California, and they're like, "Hey, are you going to go?" No. I'm priced out. Like Money in the Bank, the nosebleed sections are like $300, and I'm like, nope, I'm out. Can't do that. And it's like, even earlier this year, I went to SmackDown in San Diego, which is a drive for me, and it was like a $80 ticket for that show. And again, in the nosebleeds, like way far away from the ring.
Right.
And there's so much value when it comes to independent pro wrestling, because $20, $30, that's not a crazy ticket price. Admission is part of the Monmouth. Why can't I say it?
Monmouth County Fair, yes.
Monmouth County Fair. It's part of park admission. So, $10 to get into the fair and then go check out some pro wrestling. I feel like that's a huge value for families. Mm-hmm. And again, with DAWG, I feel like that's, when they were at the Max Fit at the in Gladsboro, that I feel like that was also a very family friendly environment too, because it didn't cost you an arm and leg to go to a wrestling show. You can go to the show, buy some concessions, get a lucha mask or something, and call it a day, and spend less than what you would going to the movie theater.
DAWG does it right. Like they understand it. Like they're not there to screw anybody over. They want everybody to have a good time, enjoy themselves, and go home and talk about it. Be like, hey, I just saw this. This was incredible.
So now going back, because I'm a ping pong sometimes, and going back to your early career, you did say that you were trained by Iron Mike Sharp.
Yes.
Tell me about that, because I will always forever remember Iron Mike Sharp as the guy who was always in his matches. And when I think of like a villain, like he was kind of like a James Bond villain in some regard. Like he was just always there, never looked like he was happy. Helping enhance the shows, putting talent over. But what was it like training under somebody who, of course, is a legendary wrestler for the WWE?
So it was probably the worst possible training conditions. It was probably the worst ring you'd ever seen. We were in an old storefront, being the only business in like the plaza. I don't think he was paying rent, but like we went in there, we worked out. Like he would get in the ring with you every once in a while, but I was trained mostly by Matt Storm, like his head trainer.
Okay.
And Mike Sharp would hop in the ring and like he would teach us like drills and stuff like that. But for the most part, you learned your basics, and then you would do corner matches where you'd have 2 guys in the middle of the ring and then 4 guys on the apron, and you would tag out when you get tired. But every 2 weeks we would do shows, and that was like our WrestleMania. So for like $5, you could watch 4 to 5 hours of new guys trying to wrestle. Oh yeah, we had a pair of ladies called the 7-Eleven ladies because they worked at the 7-Eleven down the road. They come to the shows. It was
I love it.
great, and I have all this on tape. I have like the last 2 years of these shows on VHS. Like we came up with our own angles. We told stories. The best thing we had was the gong. So like somebody would debut a new gimmick. They come gong if it didn't work. Like we did things like that. It was more like to pop us to have a good time. But like, Mike made money on the ticket sales. We sold hot dogs. We set up the chairs. Like that was our WrestleMania.
I think a wrestling gong is something that needs to be reintroduced in 2025.
We had this big guy, 450-pounder, came out as a genie with a lamp. Gong. Just
That's amazing.
Didn't even give it a chance. Yeah.
Someone get Dr. Lawrence Zirconium on the phone. So you said you have them on VHS. Like,
yeah.
To me, I think that's like a business opportunity. Put those out on YouTube and make some money. People watching those shows.
I have a lot. Like I was telling my son, like, who's that Costco guy? Big AJ.
Yeah.
So he trained out at Sharps, and like he, whatever. Like he wasn't the best in there, but like we had the workouts taped and stuff like that. And I worked them in a match, and my son's like, "Put them on YouTube, you'll be famous." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." Not one of my proudest moments.
The rumors are always rampant on the internet, but I heard like he got hurt or something. I think he maybe stepped away from all of it. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to disparage the guy. I got to watch him in Los Angeles. He was part of that 6-man tag before one of the AEW pay-per-views, and I was just like, it felt very surreal. His kids were there.
Yeah.
The Rizzler was there, and it just made me laugh. I thought it was hilarious. A Rizzler would be another fun gimmick that the Gong might or might not enjoy, but
we can do a one-off. Maybe if you run an event, we'll bring out the Gong.
Now you're talking.
I'll make my way out to Cali.
Well, now you're talking. Like, look,
listen. I got vacation time.
There are things that could happen, and that could definitely happen. That's for sure. So again, these 2 big events. It's your return to Dangerous Degenerate Wrestling Gladiators. I think. I mean, kind of already what you've said has been a little bit of a love note to DAWG. But what does it mean getting back into that ring for you? You're a champion for that company. That company had put you in a lot of opportunities throughout the years. It's been some time, but now you're stepping back into that ring, back into the Dangerous Degenerate Wrestling Gladiators. What does it mean to you as a professional? In 2025, you're wrestling for DAWG again. What does that mean?
It means everything. It's stepping back in there because wrestling is the longest relationship I've ever had. From girlfriends to ex-wives to whatever you want to call it. Wrestling's always been there. It's never judged me. So just to step through the ropes for that 10 to 15 minutes, priceless. And to do it for DAWG, forget about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like I think anybody who is in the business, I think for them to say such a kind thing about their promotion that they're working for, I think that that's everything too. And I'm sure when Dr. Lawrence Zirconium hears that's going to put a smile on his face, because again, the hard work that they're doing, I feel like this is the breakthrough year, 2025. I know that there's a lot of opportunities coming up in the next few months, and you've already got yourself on 2 of those. And I hope there's a lot more that are coming for you in the next couple of weeks, months, and years with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. Now, I want to give you a chance to plug everything, because I know time is valuable, and you've been very kind to give us your time today. So let's plug some stuff. What's coming up for you besides? I know June 28th we've got you for Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators at the Riverton, New Jersey Sacred Heart, which is I believe that's the 2nd time they're running this building.
Yeah.
What's up next for you?
We have Monmouth County Fair events in July for DAWG. So side note, Nicole Atkinson, I want to say she was like on American Idol. She's performing that Friday night. She wants to get into the ring. she's a huge wrestling fan. So like, yeah, so I got to talk to the powers that be at DAWG to see what we can do.
Someone put Valerie Verman on notice.
Some, but like she's been all about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I have coming up in October for IWF. We're coming back for another event, and then between here and there, just filling in with mom and pops. Whatever kind of indie promotion will let me come out there and do my thing.
That's great. And something that should be said about longevity, and like I can go to a cage match and I can see like you were wrestling in the 90s and now you're wrestling in 2025. And that is a very long time to be at the sport and pursuing your passion. What does it mean to you? And I guess it's a stupid question, but I want to hear your answer anyways. What does it mean that knowing that you've been wrestling for such a long time, and I mean that with the utmost respect, that you're still being able to go in 2025, wrestling the matches that you want to wrestle, getting into the promotions that you want to get into? What does it mean to you to have that opportunity to do that?
It's scary because a lot of times I don't know if people remember who I am. So like I came back to a couple of promotions this past year and I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And the music hit and I came through the curtain and there was like a pause. And then it was like oh shit, it's him. So on that point, humbling doesn't cover it. It's just like, holy smokes, like this is really cool. And then hopping in the ring and then them chanting your name on an independent level is stupid crazy. Like soaking it in and just listening and watching. It's like, okay, we're doing this. Like we can still go.
I mean, it looks like, according to Cage Match, which is never accurate, but according to Cage Match, 1996 is when you debuted, October of 96.
Probably on Independence.
Say that again?
Probably on Independence, because we were still doing like shows at the wrestling schools and stuff that wasn't reported on.
So then that means if it was before 96, 95, that means you've been wrestling for about 30 plus years.
Yeah, oh yeah.
How's the body feel?
Oh, terrible. I'm not gonna lie, absolutely terrible. Some days are better than others, but you just you get through it.
Well, that's awesome. And again, I'm excited to see your return to DAWG, because again, I feel like you were part of that brand when that brand was being born, and it is a homecoming. I know it's not necessarily your home promotion, but it feels in many ways like it is a second home for you. And I'm wishing you nothing but the best in the ring with Silver Lobo. I know he's an up and comer, and I hope he takes this opportunity to learn while he's in the ring with you. Because I mean it with the utmost respect. There's a lot of kids who are getting into the business that, being able to get into the ring with a veteran, someone who's been in the business for 30 years, like, man, if that were me, my mouth would be shut, my eyes would be open, my ears would be open, and I would just say, teach me, sir. Let me learn from you.
Thank you.
Well, it's the truth, right? Because whatever wrestling school anybody goes to, that's the action. But you've done the action. Like it's not like you could teach anyone how to do a headlock, but you know how to make a headlock matter. And I feel like that's important. And in any up and coming wrestler, whether it be Marvelous or Silver Lobo or even Dave Dahl, I mean, these simple lessons I feel like could really take somebody to that next level. And sharing a ring with you for a night or for several nights, I feel like is a big opportunity for anyone who's standing across the ring from you. And your accolades speak for themselves. And 30 years in the business is nothing to disregard. I feel like that's a huge accomplishment in and of itself. So
thank you.
That's awesome. And I'm very excited for you. And I'm very excited for DAWG for this event. And I think that's a good spot to end it for today. So I appreciate your time. And as always, I'm looking forward to see those matches when they pop up on YouTube.
I got you.
Where can the folks follow you on social media? How can they follow you? I know we listed your Facebook, your YouTube, and I think your MySpace, because that's what I found. So what else do we got out here? Where can they follow you on the socials? And I'll update the video afterwards.
We have Instagram. It's Mr. Pods Weirdo. I'll type it in the chat for you. But Yeah. I'm not as. That should be Instagram and Twitter.
Got it. Instagram and Twitter. Need to get on that Blue Sky. Everyone's jumping to Blue Sky.
What's that?
It's like Twitter. It's like Twitter. It's what Twitter was when Twitter was less toxic, I guess. So at Mr. Pods, Mr. Pods Weirdo.
Yep.
All right. What's the genesis of that name? Why Mr. Pods Weirdo?
So my last name's Pods Vero, and
Okay.
I'm just a weird guy. So let's just combine the two.
That works.
But weird in a good way, not in a bad
No,
way.
If you own the weird, then it's not bad. If you don't own the weird, then that's usually when it's bad. All right, my man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Biggie
much.
Biggs.
And legit, if you want to do the event, I will come. We'll bring a gong. We'll do something. Travel to Cali. Let's go.
We will talk offline because I have some stokes in the fire. Nothing's for sure yet, but if it comes up, I have some ideas.
Awesome.
All right, brother. Take care and best of luck on June 28th. And again on wait, I want to make sure I get the dates right because then Jaden will be mad if I don't. June 28th, and of course on July 23rd, 20 through the 27th. Yeah, there you go. July 23rd through the 27th. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at